What's up, everybody? We are live on a late Saturday night. It's Sunday. We'll call it Sunday morning where these guys are at because I kept them up too late. Um, but we're here. We're just gonna have a fun little conversation with the Motley Crew of Mopars, the Motley Crew of Mopars, talking about a couple things in Mopar land. One being the Black Ghost. We'll talk a little bit about that. We'll talk about the latest auction prices because a lot of people are just going nuts over them. And I want to talk, since we have Blake from Subline Technologies, we're going to talk a little bit about modern Hemis because I stirred the pot a little bit and got a little wild on the old Facebook feed. And, there was a lot of opinions. And I think there's a good middle ground. And we're going to talk about that a little bit just because, I got to be honest, it's hard for me to keep up on comments. I can't reply to everybody, so maybe we can just get some opinions here and I'll be able to state my case and stuff. But the Black Ghost. what a cool legend. I've heard a lot of things about the legend of the Black Ghost being this street racing phenomenon that happened back in the day. And from all accounts it sounds like the stories are true. But it's funny because I've seen some comments from some of my friends that are like, oh, a 14-second Hemi Challenger is like this big legend. Wow. And how do we even know it's true? And I got a couple friends that are like, I'm going to start naming all my cars. And I was like, yeah, I've got the Tawny Gold Ghost in my garage right now. But I just thought it was funny. And as it turns out, this gentleman, I think his name's Jeffrey Qualls, is now has consigned the car to Meekum. And at first I was actually like shocked, and like a lot of people, I assumed that it was just for like, showing it. I didn't realize he was actually selling it. And really quickly I found out, oh no, it's hitting the auction block. So for me, I know that there was rumors about his dad telling him never to sell the car. And I saw a lot of comments about, this money that the car could get because it's so famous now, and it's done the tours. Everybody knows the car. And it's so much so that Dodge is basically doing a last call version, a knockoff version, a tribute, if you will, with the new cars. And he's probably going to make a lot of money on this car. Let's be honest. He's probably going to make, I would say high six figures. A lot of people are saying over $1 million. I just don't see it bringing that much money, but we'll get into that in a little bit when we talk about the prices of Mopars at auction. But a lot of people are saying, it could change his family's life. And here's my stance on it. For those of you that don't know, Mr. Qualls is not only a cinematographer, but he's the vice president of a Detroit-based film company and drives a Scat Pack wide body, very nice car. I can't afford one of those. I mean, I'm sure I could if I ate top ramen every day, but they're trying to act like this guy needs the money to change his family's life. And I'm like, it sounds like he's pretty well to do off. I just don't think he's that much of a car guy.
Right.
And that's my opinion.
Right.
It's his car. He can do what he wants. As a true car enthusiast, and I know people were giving me shit about saying true car enthusiast, but I'm like, if my dad had a car that was that special and I had taken it around and the legend was rebirthed and the legend is now again on everybody's mind, Haggerty does a documentary on it, I'm thinking, I'm going to pass this down to my son. It was his grandfather's car and my son can do what he wants with it. I think that's only fair because his son is still pretty young. He hasn't really had a chance. I know that some people were saying they saw him in Chicago at McCacken, and the family looked a little bored. And I'm like, yeah, it's a young kid. He's not into it yet. It's his father's job to get him into it. But if his father's not into it, he's probably not going to be into it. But what if this kid in, 10 years or so starts to love cars and realizes, Dad, you sold Grandpa's Hemi Challenger that had this legend for money? You can't replace that car's history with that family with money, in my opinion. I know a lot of people are saying, oh, $1 million will change it. The guy seems pretty well off. You know what I mean? And, how do you know that the kid's not going to really, really regret that his dad sold that car? If I was in the position, I would let my son make that decision down the road. Because ideally, if the money's for his family, then why not just wait and see what his family wants to do with it? I think he.
Very true.
I think he's just not a car guy, and he just wants to make that payout. I think he wants that payout. Fair enough. I wouldn't do that, so I disagree. I think it's shameful. I think it's disgraceful, and that's nothing against Jeffrey Qualls. That's just my opinion. So I'm curious. I've got a couple of my really good friends here. I would say my best friends. I would like their opinions. So starting with Matt, what's your opinion, buddy?
Man, I really think it's a cash grab. Like
Mm.
this car sat in a shed, and they had it covered up. They didn't even know anything about it. The dad had been gone for years before they pulled it out.
Yeah.
And then they took it to a car show and realized, oh, this is something special. Then the documentary got done, and they went on the tour with it and everything. I really feel like the sale is just a cash grab, and they're just trying to get as much money as they can. I like you said, nothing personally against them. That's just how I feel what they're doing.
Blake, what about you? How do you feel about it?
I think that I think it led up to something. I think there are a lot of people behind the scenes that kind of pushed it this way. So let's let's chase it. Obviously, even if you look in the documentary, he's not really into it. Like, this guy, he got it from his father. He just doesn't seem like he's very with it or really firmly grasps what it is. Like he's like, yeah, people are telling me it's a really great car, but
I got that.
I don't know if he really understood. He may have. Maybe my impression is wrong. But then let's fast forward to, the car was in a glass case in Washington, D.C. Remember that?
Yeah.
Remember
yeah.
that? So, and then I think at one point it did a stint in the Smithsonian, maybe? Is that what it was? But it was on display. It traveled around after the document.
It was the Congress Library for some reason.
That's what it is, the Library of Congress. Sorry,
yeah.
You're right. So the car made its rounds, right, being on public display after that that video was shot for Haggerty, which was phenomenal video, by the way. But
it was.
At that point in time, the video did so well and had such a positive response. I think that there were some people and some coaching, maybe with some of the Haggerty staff, that did a tour of value boosting for that car. So let's bring it around to these public displays. Let's put it up on the mantle, and in the library, the Congress, Library of Congress, all this stuff. Let's really kind of play it up. Let's play it up and build it up, slowly roll it into certain things, and all the while building the value of the car, right? So I know we're going to talk about auction prices in a little bit, but when I was watching, I watched a lot today, just sitting on the couch with my wife and kids. And you look in the audience, and the employees of Mecum, I mean, they're just grilling these bidders. Like, come on, man, you want that car. Come on. Yeah, just a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more. I mean, these are commissioned agents, and these auction companies get a huge commission off of it. So I think that he was probably on the fence, about this car. Maybe he didn't understand the full value. But when you have people who have an interest in growing the value of a car because they could make a potential large profit off of that car in the auction circuit, I think that quite a few things led to influence him to make that decision.
Oh, yeah.
I think, I mean, you look at the commission that these auction houses get on these high dollar cars. You know how many multi-million-dollar cars sold today alone?
It's millions of dollars that roll across those blocks.
They had plenty $2 million plus cars that rolled today.
Yeah, that's just absolutely
so
insane.
Think about, and look, people are off the charts with their bidding right now. I have some theories on that we could talk about later, but I really think what happened is he was kind of like on the fence. Maybe he wanted to sell it because it was just an old car in the garage. He didn't really understand the value. Then he took it out and he's like, whoa, maybe this is something special. But I think ultimately everything that led around it, and the explosive, the Last Call edition, also being named after the car, the influences basically said, hey, look, this is the prime market to cash out on this car while it's still popular.
Yeah.
So I think some persons who stood to gain a lot of money aside from him really wanted that car to go on sale, and they did everything they could to make sure it went on sale.
Do you guys, let's start with Matt first. Do you think there's going to be a reserve on that car when it goes across the block?
man,
Yeah.
if he there better be. I mean, otherwise he's dumb, and somebody's going to get a hell of a deal. But no, I mean, I don't see the car going for anything less than $1 million.
Okay.
I mean, I'm just being honest. I mean, like Blake had just said, they've done a fantastic job hyping this car.
100%.
Like, they've done a great job. Dodge did a great job playing into it and hyping the car some more by naming a sticker package after it. Like, okay, I'm gonna say it too. I'm very disappointed in Dodge's last call lineup. It's all sticker packages, and I'm just so disappointed. But that's not this show. So, but I mean,
It can be.
I mean, I'll do whatever. You know me. I'll say it.
Matt likes to party.
Yeah.
I love the party, especially when it's saying something that might be controversial. I mean, it's regardless of his dad asking him not to sell it or whatnot. He is not a legacy car guy.
No.
Like, he is, and we've talked about this before. He is a new era car guy where they will just go buy it and sit at a park show and be like, "Yeah, this is my 2015 Hellcat. It's real awesome. Look at the lights. Look at all the lights." So I mean, and I know I'm fairly new to the car game. As far as it goes, like, I didn't really start doing any kind of builds or anything until I was an adult. But I mean, I have a Duster sitting in my driveway that my dad bought my stepbrother. I have a 63 C10 sitting in my driveway that my father-in-law bought when my wife was 7 months old, and it was given to us for a wedding present. And then I have a 68 D100 that spent its entire life just an hour north of me.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I'm all about legacy. Like, if the Black Ghost came to rest here, guess what? I might just be tempted to be buried in the some bitch because it ain't ever leaving.
Right?
Like, it makes me sick that they can't truly appreciate. Like, even if you're not a car guy or a car person, you should still understand and appreciate exactly what you're looking at. Just given the fact that you took it to a show, and these guys that were legendary street racers that you knew were legendary street racers, like, this car whipped my ass up and down the avenue.
Yes,
and then
sir.
it would just disappear. Like, that would, oh man, just keep it. Like, cherish it. Cherish your dad's legacy, that you could take that car to any car show and hear an awesome story about your dad.
Yep.
I'm actually on Haggerty right now because I got the curiosity got the best of me. It looks like in a number 3 good condition car for what he has there, because even under I can't find an option to do RTSE, but a 1970 Dodge Challenger 426 HEMI. And obviously we're not plugging in a bunch of the cool options the car has.
I mean, it was a heavily optioned car.
A gator grain, man.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's
that was
crazy.
big.
In number 3, it's 230,000. I'm still sticking closer to between half and 700,000. I really don't see the value in the car.
It's just not the car. It's not the car that has the value.
The story.
It's the story and the name.
So
that's what they're paying for. That's
somebody's going to want to really have to make money on that, in order to make that price worth it, in my opinion, I think.
So I think it's a bundle, right? I think you're going to get a collector that steps up to the plate, and he's going to pay big for it right now, because they have people paying big right now for cars that are just blowing my mind. It's like, man, you're paying. There's a C10 that went across the block today. It was built by some guys somewhat local here, Mississippi, one state over, from what I understand. It went for a C10 square body, went for $200,000.
My God.
Square bodies and OBS market right now is just absolutely nuts.
But just regular cars, they're just going for absurd right now. And like I said, we'll get it at auction in a little bit. I have theories on that. But I think just because the story, and at the promoting event in Kissimmee, it wasn't on the auction lot, but it was just parked out for people to see. The Black Ghost was parked right next to one of the 2023 Black Ghost special editions, which, to my knowledge, aren't being delivered yet. Right? I think you're going to get a collector that's going to pay out the nose to have the first Black Ghost and the
that car?
original car. I think they're going to pony up $1.5 million for that car to make sure that happens.
Yeah, I definitely could see that angle.
Yep.
Yeah. Do you think Qualls is getting licensing off that?
I doubt it.
What a
Probably
crime.
not, man.
What a
doubt it.
crime, dude. Good
I
God.
doubt it.
I mean,
Well, here's my thing: is like,
it's a nickname. It's not copyrighted.
yeah,
That's
and
true.
it doesn't. The tribute from Dodge doesn't even have all the stickers. It's missing the flag stickers on the front quarters. I'm like, dude, that's like one of the most iconic things about the Black Ghost was I think it was like the African flag or
Yeah.
something. Like
Yeah.
that's iconic. Why don't you have that on there? Like, make it just like it was. Like, put rally wheels on it.
It's a sticker package without all the stickers.
Right. It doesn't make sense to me.
So
Make it like it
disappointing.
was.
I'm going to go off topic for a second. What do you guys think about those 20-inch rally wheels that you can put on new Challengers? I'll tell you what I think. I think it's awesome.
Yeah. I thought that should be on this car. I thought that should be on this car. Like,
yeah. Make it as close to what it
Yeah.
should be, right?
right.
Yeah. I agree.
Yeah.
Why did that make you laugh so much, Matt? I'm curious.
It's just I don't know, man. It just hit me like what's your guys' opinion? By the way, it's awesome. Like,
I just wanted to make sure I said that
I
first.
had to tell you what your opinion was first.
Yeah. Like
I
just
think that would have been the way to go, man. I think they should have
I
done
agree.
it that way. They should have done a little bit more, but we all know that. And look, I'm wondering if something's going on with auction right now. You know, obviously there's speak of a potential economy issue like a crash coming in 2023, right?
Yeah.
So you're seeing all these people with deep pockets at car auctions investing way above the average. I mean, like, we're talking about historic bids on some of these vehicles. This right before a proposed recession. You know, I'm wondering if they're trying to put their money into assets that they think they could benefit from later down the road, or what. Like, I think there has to be some sort of a financial gain going on here. Otherwise, why would that make sense to dump historic prices? I mean, record-breaking prices on these cars right before a potential economic downturn. Like, I don't.
I wish I could see their portfolios to see if there was a correlation a little bit. You know, like, all right, they pulled all their money out of Tesla and decided to buy
maybe
a HEMI Superbird.
Just think about that. I mean, almost.
That's crazy.
There were so many red Corvettes that passed today, the auction block, that were over $400,000.
Wow.
My mind was blown.
That's wild.
I'm like, it's a red Corvette. Congratulations. Like, I mean, granted, it was like, you know, like a 63 convertible or something like that, right? But I mean, it's a red Corvette. I can go to any car show in North America and see one.
Yeah, they get those guys a little sauced up.
I guess.
Get them sauced up.
They were sauced up good today.
Play a little Prince over the little red Corvette, and these guys are like, yeah, little red Corvette.
Get them sauced. Tell them their fanny pack looks really cool.
Oh my God!
Like, just going back to the Black Ghost thing, like, I saw more this year on the auction block of, I mean, just really trying to grill those dollars. I remember there were more than one case where they were at like 2,900,000 and they were trying to hit 3 million. And like, they were in the dude's face, like, come on, man, just 3 million, you know, just another $100,000. Come on. And like, I mean, like, people were coming down from the podium, like swarming around this bidder, just like trying to influence him to spend the money, make, you know, and it's just like, man, this is savage.
Like, they're trying to get that mob mentality going.
Yeah.
Quit thinking, just do.
If you think car salesmen, like vulture-y car salesmen, are bad, you haven't watched one of these auctions and watched these guys. God, they're ruthless. And as soon as the guy's like, "Nah, I'm out," they're like, "All right, fuck you then."
And they run off. They run off because they get commission, right? So that's my understanding. So I mean, dude, let's say it's 3%. 3% on a $3 million sale.
Do the math on that.
Yeah,
it's big money.
It's big money.
It's become almost a sporting event. Like these auctions are really like, it's a whole the ecosystem of the auctions. And how do you guys feel about how those prices affect the market? Do you really think that there's guys sitting on their couch going, "Oh, I have a piece of shit in the backyard and it is worth 50 grand." Do you
Yes.
really think it affects it like that?
Yep.
It affects asking, maybe not buying,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
I think ultimately the price that people are willing to pay is what it'll kind of, it's going to cause things to go up. Don't get me wrong. I mean, because it's exposure, right? More people are
Mhm.
seeing that car beautiful crossing the auction block and thinking, man,
Yeah.
I want one of those, right?
Oh yeah, for sure.
And I think that the prices will go up because of it. But reality is, I mean, there's a lot of cars that I want that I'm like, nah, I'm not paying that. It's not happening.
Yeah. I kind of want to hire one of those auction people to, like, if I'm selling a car, just come over to my house and be like,
Just buy it,
in
just
their
buy it.
face, in their face.
So
Oh.
Joe was asking if we've ever bid on one like that. I mean, I don't know if you can see my background, but clearly, in my life of comfort and leisure, I am flush and going to
Well,
auctions.
I can tell you that I've been to one auction where I was a bidder, and it was the Ben Snowbar Collection auction back in several years ago. It was back, like, I think I had just started the Mopar Hunter. It was maybe 2 years, maybe it was 2017, I think it was.
Mm.
But when I got there, Ben Snowbar was locally famous for having a bunch of Mopars. I mean, he had several Dodge Vipers, several classic Mopars, and he was known as a swap meet guy who would go to swap meets and just buy like crazy.
Just buy stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he had a great collection. And I remember going in there, and I still have the piece to this day. It was a air cleaner lid, the Coyote Duster air cleaner lid off of from what I understand, it was a '69 Roadrunner HEMI car. And there was two of them. One was a little burnt up, and the other one was ratty, and I wanted it. And I was like, I'm bidding on that, right? And I had gone there with, I think I had 500, 600 bucks. That could be a lie. Maybe I only had as much as I bid. But anyway, I go there and the auction fires up, and it's lot number 1. So it was the first thing to go up.
Oh,
so I got
wow.
action right away, and I was super excited because I was like, I've never been to an auction before, never participated in one, didn't even know how it was going to go about. And I forget exactly what the bid started out, but we'll say it started off at like 80 bucks or something crazy like that. So it's like, yeah. And just throwing my hand up and being in the bid, I got giddy, dude. It was like I don't know. I was like, whoo, that was like a whoo. And then somebody else is like, here, and you watch the price go up, and immediately you go, oh no, you're not gonna win this shit. And then you see how quickly it can go. And this is just with little money. And it's funny because I was like, I can only spend 300 bucks on this. So maybe I did only have 300 bucks. I wanted it 300 bucks, but the other guy wanted it pretty bad. But I think he gave up thinking he could get the next one for cheaper. And I think he ended up spending about the same money. But just bidding and having somebody else bid against you, there's something there where you're like, oh, hell no. Because it's not like a boxing match where you got to beat the guy's ass or, like score a point. It's like, now we're just waving them around, see who's just a little bit bigger, who's got the bigger balls. You know what I mean?
That's it.
I only had $300 worth of balls that day, and I know that guy had more. I'm sure he was like, we'll let the kid have this one. I'll go get the rest of the cool shit that he can't afford. But I definitely can see how it can get out of hand, especially when you mix alcohol and large bank accounts, when you have disposable incomes. That makes
and oxygen.
And yes, and oxygen. Dude, I'm sure they pump all sorts of stuff into those buildings. You know what I mean?
For sure.
I really want to go check one out. I want to check out one of these auctions just to get an idea of what we're dealing with, because there's something else to it. I know that a big aspect is these older guys with a lot of money, but there's something else. There's something else there. I know alcohol plays a part in it. Oxygen pump in that building, just the right temperature.
The Mecum comes to Houston every now and then, which is not that far away.
I wonder if they play with like the air conditioning and stuff too. Like, all right, turn it up a little bit, make it a little hotter, make it a little hotter in here, like make them break a sweat.
But wouldn't that be something as just as a spectator, you're in there and you're feeling like $1,000,000?
Oh God!
You're just like, yeah, cars everywhere. It's amazing.
I did buy a Mega Millions ticket, a couple of them, just hoping that I could win. Just so I had a plan. I was gonna go to the Mecum and Barrett Jackson auctions for the next year or two and just buy out all front 5 rows just so that people wouldn't get a good view. And I wouldn't even buy anything. I'd just buy out all front rows.
Just sitting up there with your little flag, and just like.
And then I thought, well, $1 billion can go a long way. I'll start my own auction with nothing but shit boxes, and I'll call it "Tow It Back, Son." I thought that would have been good. Tow it back, son. But I didn't win. Actually, I did. I won $6, and since I spent $4 on ticket. Oh wait, no, I won $4, spent $6 on tickets. So I ended up losing $2. So
is that even still going, or did somebody win?
Somebody in Maine won it. I think it was Maine. Yeah, somebody won 1.3 billions and billions.
So really, they won like 500 million.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Yep. Because I think it was 700 something before the taxes, and then they'd end up with like $448 million.
I mean, people be like, "Oh, my taxes," but you know what? I mean, that's still 400 something million.
Give me at that point, it's like, all right, that's enough. You know what I mean? Like, generations of my family would be taken care of for years to come. Because the first thing I do is go right to a financial advisor and go, I want the next 20 generations of.
That's bull. I'm gonna call it bull. First thing you're doing is you're going to find a wing car.
For sure.
Chris can buy up all the wing cars,
and you're going to plop down. I know you.
I'll tell you what, if any of my friends from Mopars 5150 are listening right now, you'd have some competition because I'd have some money in my pocket. And I'd be like, oh, yeah. First, I'd buy everything they had. And then I'd be like, good luck trying to get anything else. No, I'm just kidding. But
yeah, the financial advisor, Mr. Mopar.
Well, you hear about those stories with these people that win. I mean, winning $1 million is tough enough. $448 million. My God, most people would. I mean, you give that money to somebody who's never had a damn thing in their life, and their game has changed. They might go buy $100 million house and not realize you got to heat that $100 million house.
That's
you know what I mean? You got a water bill too, and that shit goes on forever as long as you own that place.
Yep, and property taxes, all that stuff.
Yeah, you got to be smart. But I definitely would. I would have to have a warehouse. I'd probably buy out an old Walmart or something, turn it into my little car place.
My man.
But yeah, these auctions, man, they're crazy, and I do think they affect the market negatively. But at the end of the day, the market really dictates. Like the people that are actually buying these cars are going to dictate what they go for. You know what I mean? I was criticized a little bit for putting up my Roadrunner for sale or trade, which was understandable. And I immediately realized that maybe I'd priced it too low because I was getting hit up so much. But at the same time, nobody, because somebody criticized me for, oh, yeah, figures, you put it up for sale, and then you pull it off. And I was like, hey.
I saw that guy. I saw it. I giggled.
He's like, people are trying to buy it, and then you back out. And I said, trying ain't buying, son. If somebody had hit me up yesterday and said, I'm going to wire you $25,000 cash right now, I just said, all right, I guess I'll have to do it. But nobody did. And after I sold my van today and got the cash that I needed to move forward with my project, I realized I probably priced it a little bit too low. And it would probably be because it's at a weird stage right now where it's like, all right, what is it really worth? Together, it's probably worth 35 or something like that. As it sits, it's debatable. What would it cost to go get a 72 Roadrunner 4-speed car, 340, and then have the engine rebuilt, and then
the paint job,
the body work alone?
I mean, dude, the paint work, a decent paint job, not showstopper, just run of the mill base coat, clear coat, and a good color, all out jams and everything. It's like $10,000 now.
Yeah. And I would conservatively put this car in that category. Plus, I have, we'll call it conservatively $10,000 in receipts for the engine. That's 20 right there, not including just the car itself. Plus we got a build sheet and a fender tag. It may not be a numbers matching car, but it's still, it's all there. So it's like, God,
documentation.
Yeah, it's in a weird spot, and ultimately, I told myself, once that van sells and I get the cash in my hand, I'm pulling it off the market because I was in a weird mental state. And as soon as the van sold today and I made a new friend, it was all right. I'm keeping the car. I'm putting it together. I'm going to enjoy it And then after seeing some of these auction prices, I'm like, well, if Barrett Jackson or Meekum ever comes up to Washington, I might just let it roll across on a reserve and see what happens. It would have to be enough where I still get what I want and they still get what they want. But I mean, that money is just insane.
I mean, we saw some fuselage B-body cars today go for big money.
What are we talking? They're probably big block cars, HEMI cars or something?
No.
Really?
No, not all of them. I mean, some were the later fuselage, like 73, 74 bringing decent money.
What's decent? What were you seeing? High 20s or something?
No, 30s, 40s.
Holy shit. Oh my God. Okay.
I think one hit. I think there was a black one. It wasn't an opera window car or anything.
Really?
I think it hit like 50.
Wow.
It was
That's
nice.
crazy.
The car was nice, you know. But yeah, they were up there. It was everything was elevated. I thought everything was elevated.
The thing that set me off was I saw a 69 Roadrunner go through, or I saw like the aftermath, and I saw pictures of it, and I saw the hammer price was well over 100, and it was like I'll say 135. I don't remember exact price. But I was like, what was that, HEMI car or something? 383 car. I was like, I'm sorry, I don't care how nice it was. $100,000 for a 69 base the base model Roadrunner. Are you? This is insane.
They were. It was crazy. So one thing I saw that was really weird go across the block was like a 78 or 79 Trans Am turbo pace car. So like, you know, had a turbo Trans Ams back in the 70s.
Oh yeah.
It was a turbo pace car, no title, bill of sale only, rusted on the roof behind the T-tops, like. And they were like, well, you know, this is a display car, they called it. They were like, you know, it's you can't title it, you can't drive it. This is just for a collector that wants to just park it in the corner somewhere. And I mean, it was barely a driver, I would say that. Wow. And it still went for like 16 or 18 grand.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm glad my Roadrunner didn't sell. So all of you that wanted to buy it, you should have ponied up the money when you had the chance.
The prices are high, man. Something's in the water. Something's going on. I've never seen prices this high.
Yeah, something in the water. I don't know what's going on, but it honestly, after seeing it and going, okay, well, I'm keeping the car. I'm like, if these prices keep staying where they're at, I was like, maybe I got an investment car and I just need to hold on to it for as long as possible. You know what I mean? I am curious because I didn't watch. How were the Resto Mod cars doing? Were they doing okay?
They were strong. Okay. So Resto Mod Corvettes, they were bringing over $500,000. Some of them.
Wow.
Yeah, they had a Resto Mod, like a 60s, like a C2. It brought over $500K. They had a Resto Mod, I want to say it was a 68 or 69 fastback. No, it was a 70 fastback, sorry. Beautiful paint, like this metallic glacier blue look. Man, that thing went well into the triple digits. I mean, Resto Mods are still very hot.
It's such an interesting time to be a car guy. And for everybody that's got what they want, it's a good time to just batten down the hatches and just be happy with what you got and just sit and see where this. I'm thankful I got my Roadrunner right now.
Well, I told you what would happen if you sold that Roadrunner.
I know.
Fight on site as soon as you landed in Arkansas.
Oh God!
Like, looking at today's prices, Chris, as good as your car looks, I'm telling you, if someone were to just put the interior in that car and get it running as nice as that car looks and run it across Meekum, I wouldn't bat an eye if that thing hit 45, 50K.
Yeah, that'd be Joe, please send me the link to that. I got to see that car. I know there's a couple around here. They're big block cars though, but looking at the pictures, you're like, that's really not that well put together. So what I'm doing with mine is I'm getting it to Vegas, but when I get it home, that's when I'm going to start nickel and diming. Like, I've got the little Chinese hose clamps because that's what I got laying around. I just need to get this car together. But when I bring it home, I'm probably going to start investing in, like, I know it's crazy. I'm going to start investing in the numbers hoses, the right clamps and shit. I'm just going to go piece by piece as the money comes in. If I'm keeping the car, and I'm just going to go through it and make sure everything is just. So if the time ever comes, because you have those crazy guys that are like, oh, fucking not correct hose clamps and shit. It's like, all right. And for me, I really don't care about that, but I want the most I can get out of the car. And I think it would be worth the investment over time. You know, I'm not trying to go crazy with it because obviously it's not a numbers car, so it really doesn't matter. But at the same time, I'll go piece by piece and build it out the way I want to. Right now, I'm not in that position, and I made a commitment, so I need to get that car done any way that I can, without putting on incorrect hose clamps and fucking Continental hoses isn't gonna fucking break me.
Right.
But as long as it's done right and it doesn't ruin the car, so anything that can be changed out is not that big of a deal.
If we're ever like at Mo Party or a show together, and the purists are picking you over these hoses, Chris, I'll be parked right next to you, and I'll lift the hood, and then we could pick up the pieces when their minds explode.
Yeah, no, it'll never be a problem though, and I'll tell you why. Because they're gonna look at me and they'll be like, "Wow, you actually finished something for once in your life. This is amazing! Wow, when's it for sale?" I already know what's coming.
Hey,
I might troll them and go and roll that thing off the trailer in Vegas with a for sale or trade sign in it, just to fuck with people. I won't even put a price. It'll be best offer too. That way I can just laugh at people when they tell me how much they want to pay me for. But I almost got, I would never say suckered. But I almost got,
Bamboozled?
No, my brain, the way I work, because like I'm not gonna lie, when I'm in the garage, like I was in the garage today before the guy came over to buy my van. Shout out to James, if you're listening. I was working on the Roadrunner. I was getting it ready because I want to pull the transmission out. Now that I got some money, I need to get some work done on this thing because I'm serious about getting it to Vegas. And I'm walking around this car. I got jack stands in my hand. I got the floor jack, and I'm just looking at the car. Because I already scratched it once and I was able to get that scratch out. Thank God. Thank you, God. I got it out. And now I'm so paranoid. It's made me not, like, I'm not comfortable around this car. And I haven't been around it long enough and been working on it long enough to get that to that comfort level. Because I always think I'm going to do something stupid. And I've had a couple interesting trade offers for it when it was up for sale or trade. One was a 69 Charger RT. It was a ratty car. And then that deal got backed out, but the same guy as I showed you guys had a 70 GTX 4-speed car, originally FC7 air grabber, and of course all this shit is going in my head. I'm like, I would love to have that. Even like I want a wing car clone, or like I know I'm not in the market for a wing car, but I'm like a wing car clone would be all right. And when the prospect of the 69 Daytona, because it wasn't a numbers car or anything, I was like, oh, I'll build a Daytona clone. Sweet. And then that backed out. And then he shows me a 70 GTX. And I'm like, all right, now we're talking. Plum Crazy or in Violet. I was like, ooh. And I started thinking, all right, well, there's my Superbird wing car. And then I'm like, I don't know. It's a GTX. But I'm like, it's a badass ratty car with an air grabber, 4-speed. Obviously, some stuff wasn't correct on it. But I'm like, man, that would be a badass car to have. And guess what? I wouldn't worry about scratching it at all. I would drive the hell out of it, not worry where I park it, all that stuff. So those ideas were going through my head when I was considering those trades. I was like, man, that'd be a lot nicer because I do have anxiety around this car. But I think it's just a matter of getting used to it, trusting myself because I'm not a complete idiot. I did one dumb thing one time because of some BS that was happening in my life when my fence blew down. I was in a hurry to get it back up and I just needed to grab a tool. And I wasn't thinking clearly. When I'm around that car, I'm thinking clearly now. So, but the anxiety is still there. And I hope that goes away because I wouldn't want a car that I was so anxiety ridden over, which is funny because I was talking earlier in one of my threads about having nice cars, and people were like, yeah, when you have too nice of a car, you're too scared to drive it. And here I am sitting in there going, bullshit, I'll drive whatever. It's a HEMI wing car. I'll drive the shit out of it. Yet I'm scared walking around my 72 Roadrunner in the back. So I was like, hey, that's kind of asinine for me to say that. Once I was really thinking about it, I was like, yeah, I would be kind of anxiety ridden, you know? Plus, between us, my car isn't insured yet. So I'm a little scared. I need to get that done. But I forgot to uninsure my truck. So I've been paying, like I've paid it out. So I got to try to get back paid for that. But anyway, back to the auction stuff. I'm really interested to see throughout the rest of the summer where these prices, if they keep, I mean, like you're saying with the economy, is it just going to fall out from underneath? You know, it's going to be very interesting. All these guys that paid so much money this time around, are they going to just eat that or what? Or we'll never see those cars cross the block again and they'll disappear into collections.
I think they're just going to disappear into collections. I mean, I hear what Blake's saying, but I mean, where I live, we're kind of in a bubble. We also have the Fortune 1 company here, so, or retailer here. So, I mean, we do exist in a bubble in this area. But I mean, it's wrong show. I was going to say the economy's not as bad as we think it is. We're just told it is. I mean, from my job point of view, fuel's still not great, but it's not as high as it was.
Yeah.
There is an egg shortage because there's a chicken shortage. So that's causing some issues.
Wait, which one came first?
I mean, obviously the egg shortage came after the chicken shortage. I
had to ask. Sorry, I had to ask.
So, but I mean, like, I don't think they're trying to convert assets. I think they're just, we have the money, everything sucks, we just survived the pandemic, I'm buying the car.
Maybe that's it. Maybe these guys, you know, because a lot of them are older. Maybe they're just happy they lived through the pandemic, and they're like I'm going all out now, baby. I survived.
I mean, it could be.
I really think we had 2 to 3 years where everybody had to really face their own mortality, and these guys are like, I made it through. I got the money. I'm buying the car I want. I mean, this is the car.
Well be.
This is the car guy version of buy the shoes, dear.
Oh man, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how things play out.
But, like, let's kind of bring the Black Ghost back into this, right? So,
okay,
think about this, right? When you look at the sale price and the commissions and everything that takes place and the amount of money that comes out of that sale, right? Just the fees that you get hit with as a seller, as a buyer. Let's just look at the sellers end. You know, how much are they really taking home? So, like, let's say on the modest side, the car, like I said, if it goes for like 3/4, it goes for $750. Let's say after all the fees and everything, it flatlines. The guy, Jeffrey Quells gets, let's say he gets $500,000, right? Now, what would that $500,000 do for him, as opposed to signing some sort of an agreement or long-term lease with a very prestigious automotive museum, where 100%. He still retains ownership, but it's like having rental property, right? Like, you have this steady flow and income that comes in over time. I just see so many options. I mean, heck, the Fast and the Furious franchise, like, how much could he get for being, and that would also increase the value of the car. Like, there's so many venues that he could still make money off of that car, and it might, in the long run, kind of come out to be a wash.
I think it would come out more. As soon as he put it up for sale, it was like, horrible business decision. I see a business with that car. That's what I see. I mean, there could be a book deal. Like, I don't know. There's so much things. There's so many things that avenues he could go, but I think he's taking the easy road. And people are making it out to seem like his family needs that money. I think he's pretty well to do. You know, I don't know. I don't know his, financial situation, so I can't say. Right. I can only go, okay, based on the career he has, I don't think he's hurting. Clearly, like I said, he drives a brand new wide body Scat Pack Challenger. Pretty happy about that. I just don't think he's a hardcore car guy. I think he's a guy that's like, yeah, I'll drive a nice car, a Challenger like my dad's old one, but at least I don't have to worry about this one. I don't got to do the dual quads. I don't got to do any of that. I can't restore that car. It's going to cost way too much money, and I'm not that much into it to invest.
My whole thing is, why doesn't Well, I guess they're not really in the streets yet, but you would expect that he would have at least gotten one of the last calls.
I would hope there's a deal there. Man, if he didn't get
Yeah,
some
you would
sort of a
think.
deal with Dodge, he's getting burned. And Dodge, that's a real shitty move on their part if they didn't hook the guy up. You know what I mean?
Not to quote Greta Thunberg, but how dare you?
I'm sorry. God. Speaking of, did you guys, how crazy is it that on the weekend of Muscle Cars at the Strip, the next day on the Monday, Dodge is going to be at Las Vegas Motor Speedway unveiling their last call model. That
I
could
mean,
create some problems for me.
sounds a little planned. I mean,
Yeah,
They
you
heard
got
I
a
was
good
going to be there.
audience there.
They heard I was going to be there.
yeah, they're like, we gotta get the Mopar Hunter in on this.
But I mean, look, I sincerely doubt that Mopar truck is going to roll in on midnight, or 1 a.m. the day of that activity. That car is going to be out there somewhere that weekend. It might arrive, a day or two early and just be kind of chilling in the back corner. So, Chris, got some investigative work to do.
They're going to be driving around just to see if anybody notices. They're
Oh,
going to
yeah.
have a couple of them there and just moving around a little bit.
I'm interested to see who is going to be there for the event, like celebrity status, that's going to be in the city anyway, and go, hey, let me go check out Muscle Cars at the Strip.
Who's the guy that used to co-host Overhauling?
Chris Jacobs.
Chris Jacobs. He'll be there.
Well, he was all over Meekum today.
Yeah, I think I'm pretty confident he'll be there.
Yeah, he's a Mopar guy.
Yeah, he's a huge Mopar guy. I doubt Graveyard Cars crew will be there. I doubt it.
Yeah, probably not.
Because I'm pretty sure they probably cut Mark pretty deep when they said they're getting rid of all that stuff.
What's
Mark also doesn't like to fly.
Does he not?
No.
Oh, well, that would be definitely. Oh, when they're doing the last calls and they're getting rid of the HEMI cars.
Oh.
Probably hurt his feelings a little bit.
Probably so.
Maybe.
They gave him a bunch of stuff, though. They gave him a bunch of crate engines.
I mean, they did give him a lot of stuff. Well, they gave him the first elephant, so
yeah.
He's like the brand ambassador.
But then they gave him a few to put in SEMA cars. He's built at least 2 SEMA cars.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's a while ago.
Yeah. Let me say this about Mark. I don't know him personally. Everybody calls him a hack, but I saw the Phoenix Cuda that burned up, the HEMI Cuda, the 71. I saw that in person. That's a really nice car. Maybe I don't know what the hell I'm talking about, but I was looking at that thing pretty close because I was like, oh, this is the Phoenix Cuda? I looked at that thing pretty close, and it looked pretty damn nice to me.
Dude,
so I don't know.
I want to put this out there. Having watched the show, and then also having followed their social media and adding a few of their people to social media, I think he just gets a bad rap because he just acts goofy on the show. I think a lot of the purists take a beef with it. I think it's a good time, and
I think I'd get along great with Mark. I think we'd have a great time.
I think he'd just be an absolute delight to hang out with. Does it take them a long time to do something? Yeah, but guess what? He does it right. Like down to doing the spot welds exactly like they would have.
Well, when people criticize his builds, like he builds them all himself.
Yeah.
When you get that big, you have a team, and sometimes those team members don't do a good job. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, shit in that situation rolls uphill, and he has to deal with it because it's his name on those cars. Right. But I'm not giving him any excuses. All I know is one day, as a lot of you know, I'm a big Sylvester Stallone fan, and as a kid, one of my favorite movies was Over the Top, the arm wrestling truck driver movie.
Yes.
I saw him wearing an over the top shirt, and I was like, me and Mark could be friends. And all these guys are talking shit. I'm like, man, I don't care what anybody says. I'm a goofball too. If you guys knew me in person, I'm a goofball. I
personally don't get the hate. It doesn't make any sense to me.
Well, but I think he's funny. I think he has his moments where it's like, all right, dude, turn it down just a notch. But I get that silliness. And I mean, would you rather have him be another Boyd Coddington or another senior Tuttle? No, fuck no.
I would love to have another senior Tuttle and junior Tuttle show. I mean, there's not been enough chairs thrown and people yelling at people.
I'm over that kind of shit. Just be
Dude.
a silly goose. What's wrong with being a silly goose?
Being a
don't get
silly goose, tormenting your employees and your daughter.
I like it when he called George by Curious George. And I was like, he did that on TV? Holy shit. I was like, this is amazing. I like him. I need to get him on the show. I don't care what anybody says. I want to get him on the show.
What he called his son-in-law long turd. Like, whoa, that's awesome.
I mean, it's just a good time. I would love to be, if you ever get him on the show, I'd love to be a co-host.
For sure.
And especially if you get Will. I'd love to talk to Will.
Will's a cool guy. We've talked to, I don't know if anybody's ever seen his sometimes he uses it. He has a black and white graphic that says #1 painter in the Plymouth font. I created that for him several years ago, and he uses it to this day. Yeah, really? I created that graphic for him. Yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah, I was. I don't know if I can dig up the computer and get the original file, but I'd get it to him just so he can make some T-shirts and shit. As long as he sent me one. But I thought that was really cool when he started using it because like, hey man, I made this for you, and I thought it was a really cool design.
Yeah, that's cool.
So, if you guys ever see that, I did that shit. But yeah, I've talked to Will about coming on the show. He said, yeah, hit me up. So I got to hit him up.
Before or after a paint job? You know, painters, man, like when they're in that booth for a couple hours.
Yeah, he might be a little loopy. It might be fun to get him on there. What socks are you wearing this time? No, I don't know. I think Mark gets a bad rap. Which is unfortunate. You know, there's been a couple situations I've seen online where his work has been put into question, but you know, there's always two sides to every story. And if you don't have both sides, you know what I mean? But like don't tell me that you can't respect the guy who the whole show was based on a car, the Phantom Cuda, that people said could never be rebuilt. It's a waste of time. And he said, I think we can rebuild it. Now, did he have some help from the AMD Installation Center? Yes, but that's because he got so big, so huge that he really couldn't take on all that work. You know, he's got years of work lined up. You know, he built a production company so that he could, because he believed in what he was doing so much, so he could shop that pilot around.
Right.
And then eventually Discovery picked him up, or Velocity or whatever, and it was off to the races. So, you know, more power to him.
My only gripe about that initial season with the Phantom Cuda is the whole storyline. I was really into, you know, him trying to track down the history of what happened, where it went, and like I really liked that part of the plot of the show where they were like, okay, we know on this date this guy owned it. And it really like showed this methodical approach to understand what happened to the car over the course of its life. And then it seems like, I don't know, is it maybe season 3 or something like that? I haven't really watched TV in a long time. Yeah. It just seemed like all of a sudden, hey, car's back from AMD. We put it together. Here it is. Yeah. And it's like, wait, what about the story? Like what happened? Like you had this person dedicated to researching what happened. Like, even just like bring closure and say, hey, look, we found it up to this end, no new leads, you know, so we're just going to build the car based on the knowledge that we know, and just like, you know, close that story out, because it was like this investigative storyline. That first season, right? And it was like really, I mean, like kind of pulled you in, right?
It's pretty compelling. Yeah, it's
compelling. And then like it went from, hey, look, we're really vested in this, to all of a sudden it's like, okay, body's done. Let's put it together. It's amazing. You know, I was like, oh man, like I really liked that way of telling the story, right? Like the history of it.
The murder board.
Right.
No, I thought that was really cool. I did question how they were going to keep that up with all the cars, because you started, as you watched the seasons, you saw the cars in their queue. Like all of a sudden their lot started getting fuller and fuller and fuller as his name got bigger from the show. And I always question, like, how's it going to manage all that? And you could see that it eventually just got to the point where it was like, all right, we can be somewhat educational on the show, but we also need to be a little bit silly to get, you know, that controversy or whatever. But, you know, I'm sure also in the first handful of seasons, a lot of the editing, it's like, all right, what do we leave in? What do we take out? You know, there's so much there too. And I'm sure if you asked him what he would change, he would probably change a lot of stuff.
Oh, everybody does.
Absolutely, 100%.
Now, I haven't watched it in a long time. Have they ever done anything with the FM3 car?
I know that his granddaughter.
Granddaughter?
Yeah, I know his granddaughter is. I mean, she was just born during that first season.
Mm-hmm.
So I imagine they're in their 11th year. So he's got a few years left before she turns 16 to get that car. I don't think they've built it yet. I haven't had time to watch much TV lately, so I haven't caught up.
That was cool.
It was cool that they found that car, and it'll be interesting to see if I think he'll come through and build that car for her. It'll be interesting to see that car when it's done. That'll be fun. But let's it's super late where you guys are. There was one more thing I wanted to talk about, and it was another controversial topic, and this is I think we can all relate to this one. It's modern. Oh, and hi to everybody in the chat. Sorry if I didn't get to say hi to you. I see all your guys' comments and stuff. Thank you for joining us. Modern Hemi swaps. I made a joke, and it was on Facebook, and it said, I love hybrids, classic Mopars and modern Hemis. And people were all over the board. And people were saying that you're ruining basically the essence of a classic Mopar by putting a modern Hemi in it. I couldn't disagree more. Now, I do understand that if I had a 1970 Plymouth Superbird that was an all numbers matching car, or even let's just say a 68 Dodge Dart, sort of stock Mopars has one. If I had a 68 Dodge Dart, just a GT, numbers matching and stuff, that's not a car that I would be too afraid to tear apart. You know what I mean? To put a modern Hemi in. But if I had a 70 Cuda 340 car, numbers matching, I probably wouldn't rip it apart to put a modern Hemi in. That's just me.
Mm-hmm.
If something had a good pedigree, and I had all the documentation and stuff, I think you would take away from the value by putting a Hemi in it, a modern Hemi, a G3. I don't I wouldn't call it butchering, but you definitely would be taken away from that pedigree. And I don't think those cars, I mean, obviously somebody who's it's their car, they can do what they want. But as an individual, I probably wouldn't choose to do that with a car of that pedigree. But I don't see a problem I don't think you're taking anything away from the history of a 68 Dodge Dart or a 70 Charger that doesn't have numbers matching anything. I don't think there's a problem with throwing in a modern Hemi. So I know I have a 5.7 sitting in the garage. I'm just waiting for something to, put it in. Matt, I'm curious, you have the Duster and you have a 5.7 Hemi for it. And the plan has always been to Hemi swap it. I'm curious, before, has it always been the plan to put a modern Hemi in it? Was there ever an idea where you're like, I'll put a big block in it or a different small block? And
no, it was always Hemi.
Why?
It's just, I just had the plan. Like, I knew the original plan was a 392. Okay. Just I knew they had great engines. You get them. That was just my original plan. And now we're talking. I'm sitting here with my 68 D100, and I'm eventually going to take it down to Blake, and I are going to slam it together. So, with another modern Hemi. So I have nothing. Here's the thing: we as a car culture, cannot sit back and be okay with LS swap the world, and these guys just put LSs in anything with wheels, and we're like, oh, it's okay. And then Hemis start getting into the game, and everybody's like, no, you can't do that. We can't be like that. It's you gotta respect. It may not be your cup of tea, but respect that person's vision. Respect the build. I mean, it's like I said, you don't have to like it, but you don't need to be an asshole about it.
Exactly.
Mopar enthusiasts are an interesting breed.
Mopar people make it so hard to like Mopar people.
Yeah. There's certain ones where it's like, hey man. Oh gosh. It's like we're all on the same team here, I think. What's going on? I just don't understand the hate.
Here
But
he comes.
Blake is the guy that I'd love to have on the show to talk about modern Hemi swaps with.
I hate it
because he's the
I
Hemi
hate
swap
doing
guy,
it. I hate doing it.
right? Now, Blake, what are the pros of a modern Hemi swap and a classic Mopar?
Enjoy it.
Right? What I don't understand the downside other than, like we were talking about earlier, a pedigree car.
Mm-hmm.
But, people are comparing like the feel and the sound. I've driven a Scat Pack Charger, a new one, and Challenger. They're fun as hell and they sound really nice. So I don't understand. I don't understand. I guess obviously there's a little bit of a sound difference between a big block Mopar and a modern Hemi, but
I get that.
do you really lose that much of the spirit of the car? I don't think you do.
You don't. You really don't. It's one of those things where enjoying is a big part of the swap. Enjoying the road, the feel. I totally get, the sound, the pulse, the ground shaking torque of a big block. Like, I get that. That's cool. But on a practicality level, how often do you really get to enjoy that? I told a story earlier. We were talking about building big block cars in a shop I used to work at, and just putting, like a 32-ounce little Powerade bottle hanging up off the hood hinge there and driving around the parking lot. And just, every time I blip the throttle, just seeing it just suck fuel. And now we have the ability to get way more power, if not the same power. So you're talking like a 426 Hemi, right? 426 horsepower. The 6.1 made that in 2006, right? But can still get considerably good fuel mileage, and it still sounds great. A good exhaust set on a 6.4, a 6.2 sounds really good, but you could drive it anywhere. It's just like the LS, but better. Really, that's what it's about. It's about drivability. And yeah, I get it. Yes, you can drive, quote unquote, an old school carbureted Mopar anywhere. Yeah, to a degree. But think about some of the longevity things, right? A lot of people now into rolling car shows like Hot Rod Power Tour, into even Moparty, and a couple of the larger shows have a touring segment where you have to go on a drivability run. Power Tour is a great example of enjoying your car. If I'm going to go on a potentially a 3,000-mile journey, some people, it's usually a 1,500-mile journey from start to finish, but some people might live at the end and they have to drive all the way to the beginning and then come back, so round trip 3,000 miles. Imagine having a radiator hose blow out roadside. Finding one for an old school big block, it's kind of hard. Like, that's just not hanging on the parts shelf. But you can find parts for a modern Hemi on the parts shelf, right? You walk into your local auto parts store. You have certain abilities and things that'll keep that car going, keep it on the road. I do love the old schools. I have nothing bad to say about them, but I know that I can get in that car, I could turn the air condition on, and I can go see my buddies and not worry about a thing.
For sure.
Not worry about a cold start, not worry about special ordering a carburetor kit to come in to rebuild it because our modern fuels wreak havoc on carburetors. Like, I'm just not worried about that stuff, And now let's talk dollars. We talk dollars, right?
Yeah.
So my car, I would have loved to have put a 340 TA block back in it with, the 3 carbs and everything. I would have loved to have done that. It's got the pedigree, right? The fact of the matter is, a bare block alone was $5,000.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I just saw one for 7,500. I was like, good.
Well, yeah. So it doesn't make sense. So in my whole engine powertrain, I don't think I have 3 in it. Like in the powertrain. Like, I'm like, and it runs and drives, and it puts out 40 more horsepower than the 346 barrel did.
There you go.
And I'm still rowing a 4-speed manual transmission. It still
Hell
feels
yeah, you
cool.
are. Hell yeah, you are. Pistol grip. I rode in the car. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Let me ask you something.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm not enough in that world to see it. But it seems to me like you see more, as far as the Mopar community, you see more people talking smack about the modern HEMI swaps than you do in the GM world of people, swapping out their 396s, 454s, and whatnot for LSs. Do you see that? Like, I don't hear as much people pissing and moaning about LS swaps as I do about modern HEMI swaps and classic Mopars.
You don't. It's a more receptive crowd, I would say that, but it's turning.
Yeah.
If you look at the tides, you look at the amount of swaps out there, a lot of people that we interact with, they're just like, I couldn't believe I waited this long.
Yes, Matt.
To go through it.
Tag me in, Coach.
Go in, Coach. Go in.
So here's the thing. We have such a disconnect in Mopar people between the classic Mopar guys and the modern guys.
For sure. I've talked about it a lot.
We've talked about we ourselves talked about it a lot. I talked about it on my show. We've talked about it on your show. So you don't have that disconnect with the Chevy guys. Now, granted, I will say this: C10s and LS Swap the World has definitely lost a lot of steam the last couple of years. But that being said, Mopar guys all got to get on the same page. Otherwise, it's all going to stop being so great for Mopars. Like, our stuff's already more expensive than Chevy stuff. And it's already harder to get parts. Why? Because we're all over the place arguing with each other about what number matches what number. Like, it's just, there's that disconnect. And, like, you got guys like, you got clubs like Ford. You know why Ford's so dominant and Mustangs are so dominant? They don't hate on each other. They welcome you no matter what year it is, no matter where it's from. They welcome you in their club. There's a Mopar club here that I reached out to them about joining with my Duster, which is going to have all modern stuff underneath it. All tubular control arms from QA. Is going to have their 4-link rear end. Is going to be a modern transmission, a modern engine. Everything's going to be modern under it. They said, no, we only accept modern everything. Mopar. No classics. I was like, but everything under it is modern. They go, no, the body's classic, so no.
Did you say, do you guys like chicks or what? Sorry.
I didn't, man. Like, it's just, I mean, but it's disheartening because, like, you look at this.
Yeah, for sure.
It's just like, what are we doing, guys?
You must have been nice. Were you nice to him?
I just didn't even continue the conversation after that point. I just moved on.
God, I would have been such a dick. I would have regretted it, but I would have been such a dick. I'm like, what kind of Mopar club is this? Like, that is the lamest shit I've ever heard.
I mean, it is what it is. Like,
Blake, really quick, how do you feel about the comparison between the LS swap community and not just the HEMI swap community, but the reactions with the quote unquote old school guys in Mopars? Do you see the same reactions in the LS community? I just don't see it.
No, you don't. They're a lot more accepting. It's a pumpkin spice latte of engines, right? It's basic. I mean, I get it. They're simple because they've shared so much information with each other, and like there's so many people that are willing to do it. You're really seeing the older, like the baby boomer generation, gravitate behind the LS swap. They're like, wait, I can get in and turn the key anytime, day or night, and not have to really worry about anything. It's a good smooth drivability for the same power. I mean, technology has come a long way. You look at big block cars running 14-second passes versus a bone stock 5.7 car running 13s. Like it's the technology is there, and you can do great things with the same amount of power in a smaller package. The HEMI guys, and so there's a local Mopar club in New Orleans called BEMA, the Big Easy Mopar, And they're split. They have some guys that are just very open to it, very willing to tackle the swap. But they have some that are just die hard. No, don't touch it. You ruined it. There's just no change in their minds. They don't want to see the benefit of it. That's fine. And I think a lot of them relax their shoulders just a little bit when I say, hey, it bolts right in.
Yeah.
And they're like, no, you got to cut the firewall. No, you don't. Hey, you like that old torque flight, that 727?
Yeah.
And your slapstick? Yeah, bolt it right up to your new HEMI. What? Yeah, absolutely. You want to keep your 4-speed? Keep it. You want to keep your same drive shaft and your exhaust from pretty much the H-pipe back? Go ahead. That all stays the same. And they're like, it can't be that easy. But it is. So what's stopping you?
What about, I've heard this one many times. I'm curious. I don't think I've ever asked you what your opinion is on this. So I'm really curious. It's not a real HEMI.
Look, I get that. I get the I hate the plastic on the top of it. Ooh-wee, it ain't real. I can put my hands on it and I can touch it. It must be real.
Yeah.
No, it's not for everyone. I get it.
Sure.
But get on any of the social media apps. Get on Marketplace, anything like that. Get on Craigslist. Go try to hunt you down a 360. Go try to hunt you down a 340.
Oh, God.
Try to hunt down a 440 or a 426 and see what you come up with. All right? It's very difficult. You talk about the difference between your car sitting in the garage waiting on parts, finding stuff that you can afford, versus going out and getting something that will fit, run great, and get you rolling until, okay, what if your big dream is a 446 or a 426, that's great. But are you really willing to let your car sit in the shop for 10 years till you can afford to put one together?
Yeah.
When you can go to any salvage yard probably around you and throw a stick and hit 4 or 5 that put out a minimum of 340, 350 horsepower?
Yeah, it's definitely
with an engine that weighs 50 pounds more than a Slant 6.
And with people that talk about the looks, I learned the guy that I got, Pete, the guy I got the Roadrunner from that I traded the Mr. Nerm truck to, we became friends, and he's got a nice collection of cars, and he's got a 71 Charger RT. It's got the Ram Charger hood on it. It's badass. You pop the hood. He's got a modern HEMI under there, and he's got the nice oval HEMI air cleaner. And I was like, man, that looks bad ass.
Yeah.
Because I will be one of those people that say, I really don't like the plastic look of that intake. That's why I like the 6.1 so much, because I think it's so aesthetically pleasing. Yeah. But you hide it with an oval air cleaner and it looks amazing. And it's totally functional.
But here's the thing. Look at Joe, OC Performance Joe. I don't know if you know Joe very well.
OC people, yeah. Those intakes are awesome.
Super nice guy. He has these great intake manifolds that bolt right on. Yeah. You could turn that throttle body 90 degrees straight up and bolt an old school air cleaner on it, and they look great.
Yeah.
But you don't lose any of the function, the drivability of it.
And they're starting to get creative with the valve covers too, to give them, more old school look, which I love. I just don't understand the hate with the modern HEMIs, and let's face it, it's the way of the future. They're gonna keep coming, and I fully embrace it.
Look at the offerings. I think it speaks volumes. The market would not reflect a multitude of parts coming in. This year alone, there is a solid wave, I want to say, from this year, 2022. There was a solid wave, I'd say, steady from Mopar from March through, say, September, October, where it seems like every other week Holly put out a new HEMI part. Just last week alone, they announced new EFI fuel tanks for the D series trucks. Did you see that? Dude,
I saw that. It made me so excited. I was like, wow, they're really embracing these trucks.
Do you know how hard it's been to get a fuel tank for a D series truck since the 90s? It was unobtainium. Nobody made a fuel tank for those trucks.
Really?
Oh yeah. It was super hard.
It was hard out there for a pimp.
Yeah. especially the laters, like from the late 80s into the 93 with the plastic fuel tanks, they always cracked and split wide open.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Huh.
But anyway, it's
Interesting.
look, I'm an advocate for it because I believe in it. I've seen the power. Like, I literally would have a car just sitting on blocks. I mean, the days of old of sitting at a car show in your lawn chair with your tube socks up to your knees. And I'm like, yep, that right there's good stuff, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, those are days people want to drive and
Yeah.
enjoy their cars. You know, like I couldn't fathom just walking around a car show with nothing, you know, showing up in a, you know, whatever modern pickup truck and parking it way out in the spectator parking lot, walking in and being that guy's like, yep, I got one of them there cooters at home.
Yeah.
One day I'm gonna fix it up and come on
Yeah.
out here with you guys. I mean, like, what is that? What kind of life is that?
A death sentence.
The money point in Gen 3 Hemis, I wonder how many people are just scared that it costs so much. I'm
Does
like,
it?
cost so much? What are you talking? Like, I got a 390 horsepower 5.7 Hemi in my garage that cost me $400.
Yep.
I mean, mine has a little bit more horsepower. I spent $600,
There you go.
but
There you
I've
go.
also spent quite a bit more on some other things.
Go find me a $600 440 that puts out, that runs, that's ready to go
I mean, mine's probably sitting
for cheap.
No.
all said and done. I'm probably about $1,300 in my engine right now.
But you're like cammed and you're, I mean, dude,
Oh,
you're
I'm
solid.
I'm HRT stage 2 cammed with a CNC milled throttle body, and trying to think here what else. Yeah, so about $1,400 in, sitting mid to
Mhm.
high fours.
Yeah.
So yeah, mid to high fours, right? Now let's take that into perspective, okay? To get a 340 in that same horsepower range or a 360, you're talking about most likely like a 408 stroker kit,
Yep.
and you're looking at a $10,000 bill.
I have $10,000 in receipts for a basic 340 rebuild from a very well-known machine shop in town that's
Right.
trusted. You know what kind of engine you could build for? I mean, hey, you could go get a crate 6.4 and be set.
You get a crate 6.4 for about $7,500, $8,500.
Less money
Even
than
better.
the 340 that puts out 350 horsepower.
Even better.
And have,
Right outside this window, right here, is a crate long block, 6.4 liter, brand new from Mopar. This is not a remake. This is brand new, a direct replacement part for a 2017 SRT Challenger with the 6-speed manual. So it does not have MDS, displacement on demand.
nice.
This is the engine that you would want, right? Brand new from Mopar with taxes. You know, down here we got pretty hefty taxes. I don't know about it's like 10%, right? So $5,700, brand spanking new, tax into your door, right? So it's really like it's like $5,000 because $750 is the core charge from Mopar. If you don't have a 6.4 block to send back, you know that's the $750 core charge. So $5,000 for a brand new 6.4 485 horsepower engine right there.
And here's the kicker. You could take two of the exact same cars, built exactly the same weight and everything, same suspension.
Mm-hmm.
And you can take, we'll say conservatively, a $25,000 crate 426 Hemi.
Mm-hmm.
Put it in that thing and take the same 6.4 and put it in the other car. All exactly the same. Only thing different is the engine. And the 6.4 will donkey stomp the shit out of that. And I love Hemis. I love the Elephant. I think they're great.
I do,
man. But you're paying to go, yeah, I got a Gen 2 Hemi. You know what I mean? Which I understand. That's cool. As far as being a Mopar guy, that's pretty much as cool as you can get.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I got a 426 Hemi. That's badass.
To be politically correct, at some point it turns into a genital swinging competition.
It absolutely does. It 100% does. It does. I'll have no problems with a modern Hemi donkey stomping every old school big block that I run across that isn't blown on alcohol. You know what I
Right.
mean? And at that point, it's like I'm not trying to hate on other Mopar guys because,
No,
like I said,
not at all.
I love all that stuff. But
Not at all.
when I hear these old school guys talking so much shit, I'm like, man, do you understand what you're missing out on? Like, my ideal garage has one of everything.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, give me an old school and a new school and an old school with some new school. Like, I love it all.
So,
Yeah.
let me ask you this though. You've come across many, many Mopar people, right?
Sure, yeah.
I'm willing to bet that you've come across quite a few that own either dual quads or 6-barrel or 6-pack, right?
Yeah, I've run across plenty, yeah.
Okay. What is the number one gripe of those persons?
Oh, have you a lot of the things that I've heard, it usually revolves around, yeah, but if you've never tuned a 6-barrel or a multi-carb setup, it is a bitch to keep tuned.
Exactly.
The tunability of the new Hemis, shit. You know,
Okay,
what
so
tunability?
depending, like I know Chevy guys had this problem in the past too, because like there were different versions of the 396, and they're just like the 426 and the Hemi with us is there's kind of like the street Hemi and then there's like the race Hemi, right?
Yeah. Mhm.
And so I hear stories from old timers. I love them. Like I love hearing the old war stories, right? But it's like, yeah, we were going out one night, so I had to adjust my linkages. Like, yeah, we're going out. I had to adjust my valve lash. I had to, you want to go play and you got to go. You can't just turn it and just rock and roll and just go kick some ass. Like, man, that sounds like a little bit of a pain to me.
Very much so.
There's not one time I'm like, well, going out for a spin. Let me pop the valve covers and check my lash and, let me adjust my linkages and all. No.
In their defense, there are those guys that love that kind of stuff, though.
And that could be.
And more power to them.
More power to you.
Have all that.
You have fun. But I'll tell you right now, if you have an older guy that doesn't like that, like he loves the car, he loves it, and you're like, okay, Bob, here's your A12 car. Love A12 cars, right? All right, we're going out. I want you to go out tonight. You're gonna drive your A12 car, all right? And then tomorrow night you're gonna drive a Hellcat. At the end of the weekend, tell me which one you had more fun in.
Yeah,
right. I love both of those cars. They're both amazing cars. But like we were talking about earlier, the A12, I would be in heaven if I could have one of those cars.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. But I would be so deathly afraid to get someone to breathe on it wrong. Right? Mm-hmm. Like I would never park it at a store. Like I'd always have to be hovering around it, making sure nothing happened to it. And then I'm sure it'd be a little bit of a pain because older cars aren't as comfortable when you drive. It's good, awesome raw power.
Sure.
But think of a night out on the town in an A12 versus a night out on the town in a Hellcat.
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like it's just different, right? There's different strokes for different folks.
No, and I'm the Mopar enthusiast that would take the Hellcat out. And when I'm done, I look at my A12 and go, okay, I want the Hellcat engine and that beautiful machine right there. You know what I mean?
Hey, you can't deny of all the Hemis, the Hellcat looks pretty good.
It's badass, man.
A big aluminum blower.
I've thought about it many times since I got this Roadrunner. And I'm like, all right, I know that once it's running and driving, I'm probably going to have some fun with it. And I'm going to go, okay, this little anemic 340, like, what am I going to do here? And I think there's only one answer. And I think it's either a Hellcat or a 6.4 with forged internals and a blower on top, a nice Whipple. Because Whipple's been making some shit. Like, how big can you make those things? Because you might, come on, man. Like, they're talking, 3-liter Whipples? I think they're going bigger too. I think they're going to go bigger. We'll see.
Is there a 3.3 now?
I think there's bigger than 3 liters now because I thought that the 2.9 was big. Then they say 3, and then I think there's another one. I'm not sure what the drag pack car has on it, but I feel like it's bigger than 3. I could be wrong. I could be completely speaking out of line, but It's crazy. I do want to get an answer from you, Blake.
Oh, sorry.
Jeremy's question here. He says, Blake, which of the new Hemis do you think is the best swap for an old Mopar, using a general sense for affordability, coolness, power, and ease of install?
I'll be honest, they're all pretty easy to install. They're just a different route of installation. It depends on, I would say, what old school you're looking to go with. So for an A body, just being honest, I like to use truck engines because the accessory package is a little high and tight. Sometimes hood clearance could be an issue, but you don't have a lot of the fitment issues down below. A body, you can almost forget factory power steering. It's not going to happen, right? You could do a Borgeson, something like that, aftermarket power steering. But the factory is just it's not going to work. B's and E bodies, man, anything you can put your hands on, I'll drop it in. Like in the trucks, the D series, anything. It's your flavor, right? So what I like to say is, if you want the most cheapest low buck, slap it in, get on the road, go check out like our low buck series on YouTube. We bought the perfect donor for cheap and low buck is going to be something out of a Jeep or like an early Durango, right? Because they have the very tight fitting exhaust manifolds, and they have all the right things. They already come with the 45-degree oil filter adapter, which tilts the oil filter to clear the K member a little bit better. Literally, we bought that whole Jeep for $600. The whole Jeep. Yanked the entire powertrain out, and in the trucks, the trucks already need a rear sump oil pan. So Jeeps is perfect. Literally, we bought a set of engine mounts and dropped the entire powertrain in. We're even using the factory Y pipe off the Jeep Commander that the HEMI came out of. We had a drive shaft made up. I had to notch the trans cross member 1 inch, had to drop it down 1 inch, and it's running and driving. Like the whole pickup truck, like buying the truck. Then we got the truck for $600. It took a couple $100, like say $400, or right at $1,000 in the truck. Took some money, for paperwork to get the title, all fixed and whatnot. Truck, HEMI owner, all the little knickknacks we've had to buy thus far, trying to keep it budget. We're in that truck $3,800.
$3,800 for a sweet D series with a HEMI in it that can burn tire. You cannot.
Yeah. So that's the low buck, right? Now you got to keep in mind those engines are getting old, right? 03 through a 2008 HEMI, man, it's getting up there in age, right?
20 years old.
it's getting up there, right? Yeah. So the Achilles tendon for those older HEMIs was dropping a valve seat. You had make sure you keep them cool. They're great engines. Just make sure you keep them cool. Don't try to cheap out and be anemic with your cooling system. Like run a little dinky Amazon fan that pulls like 1,000 SCFM. Like make sure you got good coolant, and that thing will be good to go. If they get hot, they'll drop a valve seat. Just try to watch that. The newer stuff obviously makes more power. So 09 and up to most recent makes a good bit more power. All right. So pop quiz, Chris. Stock 6.4 cylinder heads. Do you know approximately what they flow right out of the box?
I imagine they flow over 300.
320 SCFM.
Is it 20? I wanted to guess 310, but I wasn't sure. I didn't want to talk.
I think it's 320. The Apache, yeah, I want to say it's 320. I've saw independent tests, but compare that to the LS world.
Exactly.
People port and polish their heads to the 9s to try to get those numbers.
Yeah.
Right. The cylinder head design. So it changed in 09 with when it went to the Eagle and the VVT. Your intake and exhaust ports on 09 and later, 5.7 is like what the 6.1 was from 06, right? So it kind of caught up as far as cylinder head port design. So that's why you can take a 6.1, that beautiful intake manifold, and plop it on a 6.4 or a newer 5.7, right? And get that good look that you like, Chris.
Yeah.
those make more power. You can find them; they're readily available for cheap. Man, check your auctions. We have. I'm looking at 1, 2. I have 6 right here just at the shop, and all of them I acquired for less than $1,000. Man, you can't really go wrong.
You can't
right?
go wrong.
No, you
Go
can't.
wrong. You can't go wrong. So it's like, just you mix and match your parts based on what your needs are. And I know you want to say like what's the cheapest and what's the coolness and power. It all just depends, right? So you can do good old horse trading. I don't know if people do enough horse trading anymore. It's the best thing. Like swap meets are the best thing. That's one thing. And I think the old school guys, the baby boomers really had is like they knew how to be frugal and use swap meets. Like don't give up on it. That's cool. Like, okay, case in point. If I know that I can go to Mopar and for $5,000 I can buy a crate 6.4, and I know all the accessories from a 5.7 bolt right on the 6.4, I'm going to go buy a 5.7 that somebody did something dumb with and like shot a piston out the side, and I'm going to get the water pump off of it. I'm going to get, any bolt-on parts that I can, like maybe Jeep manifolds for the tight tuck, stuff like that. And boom, like I am in a crate 6.4 drop-in, fired up and running. The wiring harness, all that from the 5.7, put it on the 6.4. And I'm cruising for less than if you go buy the crate turnkey from Mopar with the accessories, I think it's closer to like $11,000, I think.
Something like that.
Something like that. So you can be frugal and do whatever you want. And it's really how creative you want to be. I'll put it that way.
I know it's late for you guys. Let's answer this one last question for Jeremy, and then we'll get out of here. He says, nice. I forgot about the accessory locations varying. I also thought there was a year where the ECU became a lot more complicated to separate the non-essentials.
Mm-hmm.
This is right up Blake's alley.
Yeah, we do a lot of ECU stuff. So first off, if you're doing old school, I would stay away from anything 03 to 05 ECU. 05 truck ECUs, a lot of people like to run them because there's no security in most of them. As we find out in Canada, they did have security, and it is an absolute bitch to bypass. So they call that SCIM, Security Key Interface Module, or I forgot what the M is, but it's SCIM. Stay away from those. Anything else like 06 and up, we can defeat the security. We reprogram it to make it operating conditions for a classic car. So it's just turnkey. Just attach a couple wires and you're off to the races. 11 through 14 is complicated because we haven't found out the proper coding to turn off what they call CAN bus start. So it requires you to buy this like $250 module to send a CAN bus signal to the ECM to start the engine. And it adds complexity. It's kind of a pain in the butt. 15 and up ECMs, we've completely cracked. We've figured out how to make those work. Very simple, not a big deal. So my recommendation is if you have an 11 through 14 engine, it's really no different. I mean, the reluctor wheel changed a slight amount, but it's not enough. It's negligible. If you had an 11 through 14 engine, I would get a harness off of a 15 and up car, bolt it on that engine, and go run. Just avoid the 11 through 14 ECM.
Okay, that's where I'm at. Mine's out of a 12 Ram.
Yeah, I got quite a few 12s, 13s, 14s.
08 Ram here.
Yeah. So 08 was still on the NGC, the 4 ECM connector setup. So that's super easy to tune, Matt. 08 Ram. When they switched to the 2 connector in 2011, that's when it got a little bit, a little dicey. But like for your car, Chris, your engine, I would literally just grab a harness off of a 2015 or newer and just drop it on and click it right, plug it in, and then use a 15 and up ECM because it'll be much better.
Right on. Well, folks, We've gone 100. I'm tired too.
Good time
We've gone
limit,
100
man.
hours tonight.
It is 3 a.m. Chris and I have been going since 9 a.m. our time.
Jeez.
All right.
3 a.m.
Hour and 34 minutes. You guys know where to find me and who I am. Matt, where can we find you? And all your fun stuff.
Everywhere. Big Blocks Garage. It's all one word. You can't miss me.
And you can also find Matt and I on Saturday nights at 7 p.m. Pacific, talking paranormal. Literally, we talk about the craziest things you could possibly think of, that have nothing to do with cars, that have to do with conspiracies, the paranormal, high strangeness, crazy stuff. So if you're into that kind of thing, tune in to at Talking Paranormal Podcast. And
When
then
you guys come down here, I am taking you to see some voodoo stuff.
yes.
Yeah.
Matt.
That's a little concerned.
Man, you don't fuck with voodoo, but we got Chris over here like, let's lock ourselves in Waverly Place, and Blake's like, let's go mess with some voodoo. And I'm over here like, I've already had my experiences. I'm good. Let's turn some wrenches.
Blake, I will say that if you guys think you're going to get away with playing around with HEMIs and stuff and trucks in Louisiana and not expect in the middle of a video to hear,
it's gonna be Chris.
Hey.
I can't.
What?
He's gonna be outside. Just
hey guys.
I'm just gonna be like, God damn it.
Man, I just flew in from Seattle and boy, are my wings tired.
Dad jokes galore around.
Dad jokes, man.
Wrench comes flying off camera.
Yes, sir. Or rappelling from the ceiling, like pew, boom, just. Blake, the mastermind behind Sublime Technologies. Where can we find all your stuff?
Well, mostly you could finally hanging out with you cool dudes. So bam, right there. You can go to our website, DIYHEMI.com. You can find us on social media, Sublime Technologies, Facebook, Instagram, that type of cool stuff. But yeah, mostly right here. This is one of my favorite places to be.
Hell yeah, the Motley Crew of Mopars. The Motley Crew of Mopars. I love that name. There's something about that. It just sounds so good and original.
We need intro music.
We should. Yeah, we'll have to. Yes. We're gonna start doing the Motley Crew of Mopars. Now we do have another member who's probably asleep. He hasn't joined us in a while. We haven't heard anybody talking shit about big blocks or nothing tonight, and it's because Johnny Mopar's asleep. Okay. So, but we'll try to get him on the next one. But as always, it's always a fun time talking to you guys.
Absolutely.
It's been a while since we got a chance to do this and catch up face to face. All
That's
three
it,
of
man.
us. So we'll have to do it again very soon. Thank you all for staying with us. It's late. Wherever the hell you are, go to sleep. You maniacs.
Yeah.
And you two maniacs too. Thanks for joining me. And we'll do it again soon. Thank you, everybody. Remember, no Mopar left behind. And we'll see you next time right here on the best Mopar enthusiast-driven podcast on planet Earth, Talking Mopars. We'll see you guys later. Where's my mouse at? What's going on here? Okay, here we go.